Hello all, welcome to Tech with SAS. In this video, we'll talk about Hypertext Transfer Protocol and its various versions. So here I have listed the four versions of HTTP in the same order in which they were originally invented, or you can say developed. Okay, so for each version, we will discuss its features and pitfalls and how the next version improved upon those pitfalls, right? So let's start with the first version of HTTP. So we know that, right? So why we use this protocol? We use this protocol whenever we want to access resources, right? For example, you are the you have a browser which is a client, and you want to access a website, right? So to paint a website on the browser, you require multiple resources, right? Maybe multiple images, JavaScript files, style sheets, some text, right? So for those resources, you have to connect to the server from client, right? And at that time, we use this HTTP protocol. But how do we connect to the server from client is having some steps, right? So there are three steps for that. First step is to have a connection with the server. So as a first step, we create a TCP connection with the server from the client. Then a server provides its certificate for validation by the client to ascertain that whatever server client want to talk, it is the same server, not any other malicious server, right? So this also happens in this whole process. The next step is do the key exchanges, right? So because we want to make sure data which is in transit, right? Suppose you send some data which might be sensitive, or maybe some images. You want to make sure it is encrypted while in transit. So for that, we do the key exchanges, and then after these three steps are performed, we are able to uh, get resources or data from the server, right? So then we are able to fetch resources from the server. So now issue is that in HTTP1, for every resource, you have to do all these three steps, which is bit cumbersome and inefficient, because every time you are doing the opening the TCP connection, then doing the server validation for its certificate, then key exchanges. So that add to latency or delays in the response to the client, right? So that is a very kind of a not a good experience for client as well, right? So to overcome this issue, so we had some improvement in next version of HTTP, that is 1.1 version. So as you have seen that in HTTP 1, for suppose you have 10 resources requirement to build a UI page, you have to open the connection, close it, again open, again close it, right? So for every resource, suppose you have 10 images to be fetched from server, you are opening connection 10 times and closing 10 times. So that is not good. But in 1.1 version, what is the improvement we made? That is, we use the persistent connection. It means that you open the connection once, then whatever resources you want to fetch from the server, you can keep fetching from the server. No need to close multiple times, just open once. So remember, those three steps we perform are just being done once. Then we fetch resources from server, and then at last we can close the connection. So in 1.1 version of HTTP, we have this persistent connection improvement. So it basically remove those issues that for every resource we have to open and close connections. That is a good improvement, right? Another improvement which we have seen in this version is the pipelining. So what is that? So now suppose you want the 10 resources, or maybe 10 images or JavaScript files. So you have to make 10 requests. So maybe you send one request and then you wait for it, right? Then again you wait for it, okay, till you get. But in pipelining, what is happening that you can file all requests at once. Now server will respond at its I mean how it is processing, right? Okay, so you don't need to wait for each response for each request, but you can just pipeline the request in the queue, and then server can respond as it processes them. Okay, so it also saves some time, and you are able to build the UI page quickly. Next is that the response, right? So sometimes response need not to be complete, right? Maybe I mean, response is kind of a big response, might be a big image or some big text. So server can chunk it. So basically, server need not send response all together. It can create some chunks of data and send to the client, right? So response can also be chunked. So it also improves that, okay, so at least some part of response our client can get from server, and it can start loading the website or web page. Okay, and like few more things, right? For example, client has got some data which is not going to be changed much, right? So that it can cache as well. So there are some tags for the cache control in this 1.1 version of HTTP. And also we have the conditional request if modified. So suppose there are 10 resources, okay, and the 10 resources might be 5 or 10 are cached at the client side, and now there is a change in the two resources. So now when client want those 10 resources, server will see, okay, if resources are modified or not. So if they are modified, then only they are being sent back to client. Otherwise we don't need to send it back again and again, so that we can utilize the bandwidth and traffic in the network as well. So basically what is happening here, so improvement wise, we have a caching of resources. Then resources which are just modified are just sent by the server. Not all the resources which are just like the same. I mean, they haven't been changed, so there's no point of resending them back to the client because client has already cached them. Okay. So these are various improvement in 1.1 version, right? Now there are some issues as well in this version. The first version is first issue is that head of line blocking. It means that, for example, a client require the 5 images, and it had sent suppose those requests to the server, but now the initial request is taking time to basically process or respond, right? So it will delay every request processing because uh, the initial request is taking time. It's going to block all the requests. So it is a problem, right? So it might add latency and delays in the loading the web page. So also, so now you can see right here. So the first request response takes some time, the red line. So other response also delayed, right? So this is called a head of line blocking. And then also this version doesn't prioritize resources. So might be some resources are more critical in building a website or web page, but it sends every request or every resource at the same priority level. So you can't prioritize. Suppose developer thinks, okay, this image if I get from the server might help me build my page quicker, but the server will has no way that it can tell server, okay, this has high priority. Please do it bit faster than other request, right? So, but there is no way we can prioritize our request. So, the critical resources may be kept blocking. Now, after whatever issues we have seen, right? So, then next version called HTTP2 version came. It also uses the TCP protocol only underlying. And when we use 1.1, right? So whatever assets are there, right, which is requires uh, from the server, right? So they can queue all the requests. But in HTTP2, what happens that it is using the multiplexing concept. So here, whatever request it needs, right, client needs from the server, it send them at once, and then the server can process them and send them in the same way, right? So you can see here, right? So here in 1.1, every request is like you are sending and getting like in the same sequence. But in the HTTP2, we are doing the multiplexing. So what is happening here? The browser is sending request for assets together, and then receive in them in the same way. Okay, all on the same connection, right? So that's the improvement on the how requests are being processed and sent back to the client. Now there are few more improvements in HTTP2. That is the header compression. So it uses the HPAC algorithm. So that compress the request and response header so that we get like we reduce some data which is being transferred. So it might be sent quicker and a bit faster. I mean delays less as compared to the uncompressed one. Second thing is that server push. So now the in this, right, so server proactively can send those resources which it think that okay, these are critical in at the client side, right? So server is now uh, itself sending some resources which it think that it might be useful in building the web page or request. I mean the at the client side, right? So that's the thing. So server itself pushing some resources in the cache of the client. Then we also have the stream prioritization. So here, HTTP client now are able to prioritize the request. So they can prioritize those critical resources which are required faster than other resources. So the server can respond accordingly at the priority level. And then in the previous versions, right, HTTP 1 or 1.1, whatever data is being transferred is in a text format. But now in HTTP2, we are having the binary framing. So here data is sent via the binary framing layer. Okay, so it makes a bit more efficient the protocol and less error prone as compared to the text-based approach, which was there in the previous versions. Now, next version is the third version, HTTP3 version, and the main difference, to remember, it is having from other versions that it doesn't do TCP protocol, right? So other versions, either 1, 1.1 or 2, they have underlying TCP protocol only. But in HTTP3, we use the quick, right? That is the quick UDP internet connection. So it is a different protocol altogether than TCP. So, and now if you remember, right? So whenever you want to open a connection, there will be a three-step process, right? So also in that also we have that encryption, right? That the key exchange process. So, but here it has the built-in encryption, right? So it uses the TLS 1.3 advanced version of encryption. So there is no need of separate TLS handshake. It also reduce latency and improve connection time to establish, right? So main thing is that HTTP3 is using the quick protocol, and then there is a built-in encryption. So there is no separate handshake happening for the encryption step, right? So and also there is a reduced head of line blocking in this particular version because like whatever data we send, right, it is in a binary format and it is at the stream level. So it means that even if the some binary packet, some data is lost in the transit, it won't block the whole other request, right? So suppose first request is being processed in chunks, right? So it means that some data will reach to the client for sure, but it won't block other requests to be processed because there is no need to wait to build up whole response to send back to the client. Then we also have this concept called the connection migration. So, I mean, client can easily migrate their connections without any latency. So they can change the IP addresses or connections on the fly without any issues. Then, to decongest the internet, I mean the network, right? Suppose you have a huge pages to build and you require maybe hundreds or thousands of resources for that, right? So this has some mechanisms by which it can decongest the whole flow so that it is able to give the better performance. So these are the few issues and improvements all of these versions, right? So HTTP2 is like I think mostly utilized at this moment. 3 is also coming to the foray. Few applications also utilize them at the moment, right? So I hope this video is information and useful to you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Please leave comments or questions and also please subscribe. Thank you very much.